Pokimane and XQC did a little podcast together, or at least a live stream together. And one of the things that came out of that live stream was them talking about Valorant and Riot ruining Valorant specifically. And I'll touch on what they said specific to competitive Valorant. And they're saying that Riot streams professional games like every day. It says literally every day. And the only top streams are watch parties for the professional Valorant games. So XQC and Pokimane sort of agreed that Riot is potentially ruining Valorant by broadcasting too many pro games and therefore occupying too much of the, call it, top streams on Twitch. I'm curious, there's obviously a deeper question here in terms of strategy, right, for developers and broadcasting professional matches. But do you agree with them that there is such a thing as too much? You know, they even reference CSGO having made a similar mistake. You know, where at some point there were just so many CSGO matches being broadcast from all over the world that if you were a streamer playing CSGO, you couldn't get noticed because all of the matches and reruns flooded the category.
I often feel like we see that this is a problem that esports has in the opposite direction, where it's like, I've always struggled, you know, a lot of the value that people are putting in the future of the esports ecosystem is around broadcast rights and sort of because they look at the NFL and they say, hey, they're selling the broadcast rights for this. This is how many viewers they have. Boom, we should be able to sell the rights for, you know, esports leagues for that. And the problem has always been that there's all this free content out there. So esports viewers have just been trained to not want to pay, and you can't monetize as well because you have a ton of free content out there that's arguably just as good as the esports league. So yeah, I never thought about it the reverse way, like the streamers are disadvantaged because there's so much professional content. I don't know. Discoverability seems like a big problem in the whole space. Something
anyone agree with? Yeah. Anyone agree with Pokimane and XQC here?
I don't watch enough of Valorant on Twitch to make a comment on that. It's kind of interesting to me that you have streamer. It's like an actor just saying like, oh, NBC puts on too many soap operas in the middle of the day. Like, to me, that's why I kind of love the industry, because you do have these big personalities, fans, everyone that has a voice, and we're kind of creating content that we're all interested in. But at the same time, just everyone has an opinion these days, and it's kind of overwhelming when it gets ticky-tacky like this. Maybe that's what they want the channel to be about. They want to showcase the best, and if you want to be on that stream, then get to that level and get signed and play at that level. If you want someone to watch you play casually or jokingly or half-assed, you can get streamed on a different, there's other Twitch support communities and Discord support communities for up-and-coming streamers to get visibility. So maybe Valorant's protecting their brand, saying we're not, it's like the NBA, like, why are we going to show Little League on this channel? People come here to watch the best. Again, not my personal beliefs. I'm just trying to look at all the angles and put something together.
It feels like this is a big trend. Sorry, Lindsay, I cut you off. It feels like this is a big trend we're seeing tonight, is like streamers complaining about discoverability and the fact that like they're just not getting the attention that they once were. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe this is just like we're seeing the rise and fall of people, right? Like, people are not celebrities forever, and people who are good at sports are not the best players in sports forever. And for some reason, these streamers think that forever they're going to be the most popular streamer. And maybe it's not like YouTube's fault. Maybe it's not the esports fault. Maybe it's not the algorithms, but maybe it's like, well, hey, there's other people that have become more popular, and like, you're not going to be the most famous streamer for 10 years. It's just not the way fame works. But yet these people are still famous in name, so they get quoted, and it's like, well, I'm not getting the views I once were. It's the man's fault. It's Bobby Kodak's fault. It's YouTube's fault. Like, well, no, that's just how fame works. Like, you don't see like an NFL quarterback being like, well, the game has changed. They changed the football. Like, it's people are faster. It's like, no, like, your career is just on the downswing. I kind of have heard that, though, but yeah. Like, their careers are just on the downswing, and now we're just hearing them like complaining. I don't know, this is just like a thesis I've now formed over the last 30 minutes. But
I mean, as a counterpoint though, the streamers weren't saying, I do think that there's definitely an element of like I want more attention, but I feel like it's very different to say I wish there were better tools to build my audience than it is to say why is my audience disappearing. Like, not that I definitely think you have a point, and I think that in particular this article shows that more because they use the example of CS:GO, and then there's no, to me, this just strongly lacks like a lot of data. Like I wonder what the Valorant streams are doing, what kind of numbers they're doing on the pro matches right now. If they were to highlight amateur streamers, what those numbers would be doing. If CS:GO wound up adjusting its strategy to not have so many of the pro matches dominating and uplifting those streamers, or if they stayed the same, because clearly CS:GO as a game has not like lost any ground recently. So it's just this feels like a sort of half-formed complaint where I feel differently about the YouTube complaint, where it's like there's very clearly tools that can be put in place that Twitch has that YouTube could copy. With this one saying like, oh, I'm not so sure that this is the right strategy. That's a fair criticism from people who are working in the industry and what they're doing. But I also feel like it's very sort of half-formed. Like, what was the resolution for CS:GO? Clearly, Valorant and Riot's side is seeing something that they like and how their streaming is going. If that starts to change, I assume that they will change strategy. I just think that this is a little bit too half-formed to even be this whole write-up news story.
Yeah. It feels a little bit like champagne problems on this one, because, Riot cares about making Valorant sustainable for the long term, and showing pro games, you would believe, has to help, right? Showing fewer pro matches, who does it really benefit? Maybe the 4 or 5 biggest Valorant streamers, right? Beyond that, if I'm Joe Smith with 3 viewers, like, I'm going to be at the bottom of the Valorant list no matter what, right? Even if you remove the top 4 or 5 streams, which are pro streams, I'm still going to be impossible to find. So this really only benefits like the Pokimanes or the XQCs of the world, and therefore feels a little bit like a champagne problem. Like, oh no, I'm stream number 6 now instead of stream number 1 or 2. But if I'm right, I'm going, well, I could help 4 people, or I could make sure my game lasts for the next 10 years, right? Kind of an easy business decision, if you ask me. So not surprised that they're making it, and probably will continue to make it despite any complaints from Pokimane and XQC. It's also, interestingly enough, one of the rare moments where I think XQC is wrong about something industry related, and I think that's, read into that what you will. I don't know if that's telling at all, but it's the first time where I totally disagree with something he has come out and said.